This is a band that formulated a sound probably about between 5 and 10 years before its time, you know. So what we're trying to do, like the songwriters, is trying to figure out where we're going next with all this.
When we started, we didn't really try to set out and change anything or create anything, but it feels good that we did, you know, do it, and people do give us credit for it. So we're just happy to be able to do music, man. And if it helps somebody out, then that's great. We're not trying to claim as like the underdog heroes of any kind of scene or genre. We're just happy to have been making music, and we're glad and proud of what we've done.
Yeah, you know, you try to keep it natural. You try, you know, that's where I think really organic sounds come from just being natural about your songwriting and just get it done like it's the fly so you can represent yourself, you know. It was something that was formulating back in the 80s, mid 80s, 85, 83, 84. And if you were there, you knew, you know, just Glennie Friedman was at the right place at the right time taking the right photographs. You know, he was at Black Flag shows, but he was going and watching, you know, Public Enemy and Run DMC. You know, you were just at the right place at the right time, and I think a lot of its roots were in New York and Los Angeles just because of what was going on there.
Graffiti and punk rock, and hang with that's how we met, through graffiti and a lot of hip hoppers.
Songs like Breathe the Killer off the first record were actually social justice songs. So, you know, I had friends that were, you know, I had friends who were black, you know, and they were listening to like just all hip hop, you know, and put a guitar in the kid's hand, you know, make him play some stuff that was gritted. A friend of mine named Celtic, and this was like in the 80s, like 86, 87. We would program beats, and then he would just hit it on his guitar, you know, and to us, we were just trying to represent ourselves and just, you know, just hanging out with your homies, just writing songs. We had particular interest, you know, in the hip hop scene, in the punk rock scene. You know, we were going to see Uniform Choice, you know, and Excel, and then, you know, going to see, like I said, like going to see Run DMC, you know, going to see Dr. Dre, you know, going to see NWA, you know, at the Sherman Square roller rink or the Compton roller rink. The roller rinks were happening back then as clubs.
Breaking and popping, yeah, all those, you know, just hang out, breaking and popping scenes.
Like I listened to Fleetwood Mac, right? And I was a kid when that stuff was out. You know, I was born in 1970, so in the mid 70s, you know, I was like 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. You know, so you listen to those tracks, and it's timeless. You know, listen to some Buddy Holly. There's Buddy Holly songs that are timeless. You know, and if you write a good song, people will appreciate it. Whatever genre you happen to be, you know, an expert in. You know, as a vocalist, most people who would be affiliated with our particular, you know, genre of music, you know, a lot of the vocalists, without mentioning any names, kind of just do the same stuff. You know, and if you listen to the stuff from Social Justice, and because I was really into like 7 Seconds and Youth of Today. Oh, not going to the Youth of Today stuff, but you know, like 7 Seconds. Like they were carrying like harmonies when they were singing. They were like, oh. So I was kind of like, you know, I was really into that, you know, and I tried to carry a note. So I was doing it in the early stuff, but I think that in order for me to know music and understand myself as a person, as a songwriter, I had to sing. It just came naturally, you know. I went into the studio and it came out naturally. It's not something like I planned out, you know. And I think we've all grown, like as guitar players, as you know, we've all grown into a direction that I think has helped us write the last record that Downset did. Good Lord, I'm talking too much. For us to be in St. Louis, Missouri today in 2001, you know, it's watching something stand through difficult times, you know. And if you ever, I've been you know, we've been living with each other for almost 10 years. But it's like, you know, I love music, and I don't really like the industry. I think the industry is weak, but nothing compromises for the appreciation of being on stage watching those kids, because it's like when I see people on the floor and at shows, it's like seeing myself. And to see yourself manifesting the brightness of your personality, you know, it's just something. During our lives, we have moments of happiness and joy, and there's nothing that could take that away from you. Or, you know, I'm sure they have intimate feelings for playing live. So the best thing about the road is just the shows, man. It's just incredible. I did all this stuff going through my mind, like all the visions of the shows all over the world, and it's global too. It's not just national, man. It's everywhere.
I think that there's a place for everything. Just because we come from like a certain place in musical background, you know, maybe from a more hardcore side of thing. I think that bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn have done a lot for heavy music in general, which does a lot for bands like us. You know, so I'm not going to knock any of those bands. I think that they did a good service to music. Whether or not you particularly like what they do, what they did for bands like us is very good, and it gives us a chance to be more widely accepted and to be more in a mainstream environment where there's new, fresh kids and new blood and new ideas and a whole new growth in heavy music. And to be sort of like a band that was there before all this and to watch all these other things happen is nothing but good. I'm not going to sit here and bash any bands.
Yeah, more power to them, man. You know, because they're working the industry. They're working it. They're using it.
For me, the way I view the industry is like it's about your art. Why is a band like so and so and so and so in the position they're in? Because of their ability to write songs, you know. And anything that hits the American popular media just gets so watered down and cheapened. It's sad, you know. But that's the environment, you know.
Nature of the beast.
You know, yeah, of course. You know, like you look at jazz, the root of jazz, because hip hop comes from bebop and bebop comes from jazz. You know, and jazz comes from the blues, blah blah blah. But it's like you see like a person like Billie Holiday, you know, with the roots and the trueness and the texture of her art, which is her music, and then you look at contemporary, like, you know, FM so and so.
Kenny G.
Can you believe that just happened right now?
Kenny G? Kenny G? Yeah, I saw him 6 times.
And you know what? It's like the quality. It's like the quality of jazz music is just watered down, cheap, and bastardized. And that's the only thing that bugs me about it. Because when you see something grow and flourish from such a personal perspective, you know, it's not just a bunch of music to me, it's my life, bro. The commercial market has this way of shaping and molding people, you know, and then from there it just turns into anything else, a bag of Doritos or whatever.
Bottom line is, it's here and it's now, and it's the time for this music. And if you are fortunate enough to be in the midst of it, make the most that you can from it, and whatever your particular agenda is for yourself and your band, you know, do it right and do it to its fullest extent.
Honestly, too.
That's the bottom line, huh, James?
And that's the bottom line.
I've had enough.